I'm here with a special guest today. If you like art and comic books, this is the guest you're going to want to hear a little bit from here. We are talking to Ben Mauro, and we're going to talk about his new release coming out here called Huxley the Oracle. But before we get into that, Ben, I want to welcome you and thank you for coming on today.
Thanks so much for having me, Greg.
All right. Well, let's get into the past. So for some of our viewers here that might sound, this name sounds kind of familiar. Some of the past work you've done, like on The Amazing Spider-Man 2, game Call of Duty, Halo, things like that. Tell us, how did you get into this art and concept art, and what made you want to keep going and create your own stories?
Sure. I mean, I think a lot of it was playing games in high school. Like, I was a huge gamer. I mean, specifically Halo, especially, was like a huge influence on me. I think Halo 1 especially made me want to be an artist and figure out like how do you get a job in this? Like what do you even do on a game? How is a game made? And that led me down to like figuring out type of jobs you can get. I went to like a 3D animation school in Seattle for a little bit, and then eventually down to art center in California to study more design. I found I liked like building worlds and designing things from the ground up, as opposed to like maybe being more 3D heavy.
Mm-hmm.
And then after getting a industrial design and entertainment design background, that led me into going down to Weta, working on the Hobbit films, Elysium, Chappie, then kind of freelanced and worked on Valerian, Lucy, a lot of Call of Duties, Advanced Warfare, Black Ops 3 and 4, and eventually settling back down into Seattle to work on Halo Infinite for about 5 or 6 years, and kind of full circle. Like, I really wanted to work on Halo. Took a long time, finally got to work on Halo, but that whole time I was also starting to work on Huxley at the same time, and kind of balance figuring out how to work a day job and do my own thing. And I think a lot of the reason to start doing my own thing was just, I guess, working in film. You see so many cool movies. We worked with so many cool directors at Weta, and but you saw like a lot of them were just pitches, or they got sold, but then nothing happened. Or they did get made, but then the director or whoever didn't actually own anything. It was like the studio owned it. So it just kind of seemed like if I wanted to make something, it'd be cool to be able to put it out there and make sure there's no way it can get like canceled or taken off the shelf if someone optioned it or something. It's like it's a book that's out in the world. It's just has a life of its own now. People can enjoy it, and it's just out there. And I really like that idea, and I like the idea that as an artist I could do everything myself, because a movie and a game can take hundreds and thousands of people sometimes. And a graphic novel was still one of the few ways you could do everything yourself. It takes a long time. I mean, a lot of your favorite graphic novels, you open it up, there's still a lot of names in there, so it still can be a production sometimes. But I like the idea that if you wanted to, you could still do everything yourself. And in my case, it took a very long time, but that's part of the fun. Yeah.
So obviously you talked a little bit about Halo, and that obviously was a impact piece for a lot of gamers like myself, and Call of Duty played a lot of that as well. And that kind of leads me into your book Huxley. So obviously the sci-fi world, Halo and all that, you were there. So how did you come up with this idea? And for the people who are not familiar with this, tell us a little bit about that book.
Yeah, the first book, Huxley, it's sort of like the kind of like core story in the IP. The first book, it's a post-apocalyptic sort of adventure story. Two kind of scavenger soldiers called Ronin find a ancient sentient robot named Huxley, and kind of ends up being more than they initially thought it was, and it kind of leads them on this globe-trotting adventure to discover the mysteries inside of Huxley, and that could change the fate of their galaxy as they know it, sort of thing. And yeah, it's more of like a fully illustrated like graphic novel, like traditional, like very much European, like almost more Metabaron or heavy metal and Mobius, and maybe with a little bit of Japanese flavor mixed in from like Akira and Ghost in the Shell, and but from a American that grew up on a lot of like sci-fi action movies. So it's a kind of a love letter to all these things I grew up on. And then the next book takes place maybe 30 to 50 years before that story, and we center around one of the main characters in that original book, named Max, sort of earlier in his career as he's joining the Ronin army. It's much earlier in time when things weren't as destroyed. So we see kind of like robotics and artificial intelligence, almost like the Roman Empire of what that could be on this planet. And it's just him being initiated into this kind of machine army, and how humanity like has adapted and survived and thrives in this very strange world, but feels like we're maybe at the start of some of this coming into our lives. So it's I always like to project where all this stuff can go in the future and come up with really interesting stories around some of that. Yeah.
Yep. Now, speaking of stories and also your background with art, now I got a chance to have both these books and starting to get into them, and I've really noticed how the art does really stick out a lot, and the detail is just amazing on there. What for you was the hardest part? Was it coming up with the art further or coming up with the story?
Art was probably easier just from working so long in the game and film industry. It helped a lot working on movies because a lot of the time I had to illustrate a moment from a script, and it was very much working with the director. Like, here's the moment I want this character to be dying and this other character is holding them. And it's kind of a sad moment. And you have to really like be able to tell and sell like a story moment. So like I got pretty decent at this, I feel like, just doing that so much. And so I knew I could tell stories in a single image, and a graphic novel is very much telling almost like the whole movie over many images, and that part was a little more straightforward, but the storytelling was definitely like, okay, this is a new thing and I have to get better over the course of this many years that I worked on it. But it was all part of the fun, but a lot of it was very much, I could see the movie, but maybe didn't know what they would be saying, but visually I could tell the whole story. Like, I knew there was 2 red characters and an orange character in this desert. I knew how I wanted to feel. I knew how I wanted, I knew the bigger story beats. I knew these characters go here and this happens, which leads them to this, and they meet a villain here and this bad thing happens. And I kind of had the whole bigger beats plotted out that I wanted, but I left it open to interpretation when I got there and had to actually draw and design out the whole sequence and kind of direct the story on paper in a way. But it's very hard though, because if it's all on you, on a movie like on Elysium or something, right? It's just like, I'm just doing robots. This person's doing the cool weapons. That person's doing this dropship. That person's doing the set. But now it's all you doing that, and it's just like every day is like the hardest day of your life, because like this new scene, the next page, I have to design a whole city that doesn't exist. There's a new vehicle that I haven't shown yet. There's a crowd that needs to have 100 unique original costume designs that don't exist yet. And I have to draw all the characters from angles I've never drawn before in my life. And they're like, okay, how am I going to figure that out? So that was fun, stressful, and a great learning experience to go through. Yeah.
And I know, talking to other writers and stuff, they're one of their hardest things. When this might be a little bit easier for a graphic novel because you got a lot more pages that you get to work with. But did you have times where you were like kind of making the story, then you realized you didn't have as much room or had to cut back a little bit to get it going? Or how smooth did that run for you?
Yeah, I mean, well, for me, because it took so long for every page, because it's very like hand drawn and painted, illustrated, it just took me a very long time to do each page. So I tried to be as efficient as possible. Like, in a movie or a TV show, maybe it would have been great to have like 20 or 30 more pages setting up our characters before we even find Huxley, but I just throw people right into that moment, which maybe is more exciting as a reader. But yeah, so it's things like that where it's like, I know what happens here, but it's probably more exciting if I just throw you right into the moment, and things like that. Just trying to be as efficient as possible because it takes so long. But definitely a lot of that's been thought out. Like, oh, here's what happens in between these moments, but I just have to edit it down as much as I can to hopefully be as exciting, efficient story on paper. Yeah.
And like I said, I'm just now jumping into the Huxley world, which I'm very excited about. And I can't wait to get into your new book as well. Are we going to see more of the story in the future?
So the Oracle also, it's a different format. So this is more of a traditional graphic novel, and the Oracle, I would say, is a bit more like a visual storybook, a little like Simon Stålenhag's type books, if you've ever seen his books. So the art is very like a bit more photoreal and illustrated, almost like you're watching a movie or reading a movie. Some really beautiful fold lead pages, but I would say this is almost like the next story is in 2 parts, and this is maybe like Dune Part 1, and the book that comes after this is like Dune Part 2, but it's all just Dune story. So the next book after this will be the rest of this story started in the Oracle, and then the book after that, which is in the middle of production, that's even earlier in time. It's like a totally new story. So that'll be the main trilogy right now. The original Huxley book is furthest in time. Oracle and the next book are kind of in the middle. And then the book after that is earlier in time when Max and some of these soldiers are teenagers, and we kind of understand like how kids are born into this world, how they kind of overcome these trials and tests to be accepted into the army. And yeah, almost like a full life cycle of like humanity in this far future world and how they live and survive and adapt in this strange and brutal future world. Yeah.
All right. Well, I know I'm excited for it. I can't wait to see the next chapter as I keep going through these. Like I said, just the art alone has already got me so intrigued with the story. Now, Huxley is out right now. You can get that most bookstores and comic book shops. Huxley, the Oracle. Now that comes out it's out now in the UK, I believe, and then it comes out in December in all other markets. Correct?
Right. It's in the UK at the moment. These early hardcover editions are available now also, but the worldwide version that's in bookstores and Amazon will be December 2nd, and that'll be in Canada, US, and yeah, finally hit the market on our side. Yeah.
And then there's also going to be a special edition as well. Can you talk a little bit about that for some of the people who might be interested?
Yeah, these are from the publisher Read Only Memory and Thames and Hudson. They're kind of it's kind of like a hardcover slipcase edition with a kind of like gold finish and special covers, and has like a signed print inside. This is like the other sort of like a deluxe hardcover, just has like a sand colored spine and a bit more premium materials and stuff, and they're all really beautiful editions. And I think even the standard hardcover that's coming out in December will be beautiful as well. But for other people who want some of the other editions, those are available. Yeah.
All right. Well, and thank you so much for your time today, Ben. I was really excited talking to you and learning more about, these 2 books and some of your past as well. And, you worked on some iconic stuff, a lot of stuff I remember playing, especially Call of Duty, like I said, in Halo. I still remember standing at Best Buy for Halo 1 when it came out for that midnight release. So, but it was an honor to talk to you, and thank you so much. Make sure you check out Huxley. You can find it on Amazon bookstores, comic book stores, and Huxley the Oracle coming soon. And you can get the hardcover editions already. So again, thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks so much. Thanks, Greg.
Thank you.